Well, here we are, talking about Rhino, because the things that I was testing out this weekend didn't quite pan out the way I wanted them to, so I wasn't going to put together a video on something that I wasn't confident on. We're instead going to talk about Rhino, and I'm not just going to tell you all the usual things you probably find in 100 other videos out there talking about Rhino. We're going to build him the quote-unquote wrong way, and by that I mean we're going to build him the cozy way. We're going to make Rhino super easy to use, get tons of overguard effortlessly, and make him just plow through Steel Path like it's nothing. Rhino's a pretty old Warframe, one of the originals, if I'm not mistaken, and still one of the best that you can pick. You can get him early on when you start playing the game from Venus, from the boss fight there, and he'll carry you all the way to Steel Path easily. Rhino Prime is technically the superior version because of his armor. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But hey, if all you have is normal Rhino, if you don't want to try and buy Rhino Prime, nothing wrong with that. Prime version is technically the better one, though, more so than with other Prime Warframes, so just worth pointing that out. Obviously, Rhino's main thing that he uses for survivability is Iron Skin. This is what we're going to be buffing up, and he's also, of course, the Warframe who has Roar. If you are familiar with this, you know that it's the helmet ability that he has, and it's greatly diminished when you use it on other Warframes. So Rhino's the only one that can use Roar at its full power. So you might have forgot that Roar is actually an extremely powerful ability if you use it on Rhino. With Molt Augmented, which we do have on the setup, this will get over a 200% damage increase, which you can apply to all your allies, and it also affects abilities. So Rhino's really good for that, along with being super survivable through Iron Skin. Rhino Charge lets you run through enemies. This really isn't useful for anything except for the Augment, which is going to enhance our armor, and armor plays into how much overguard you get from Iron Skin. And now this is where things get weird. We're using parasitic armor to enhance Rhino's armor, which means that we are sacrificing shields, and because of that, that means that we actually want more shield capacity to enhance parasitic armor even more. Just bear with me here for a moment. I know it's weird. Everything that we're looking at here wants power strength. Power strength will increase the ironclad charge armor increase. It increases just everything that you get in with Iron Skin to enhance the overguard that you get. It, of course, increases your Roar's damage increase, and it's going to increase the conversion percentage for parasitic armor. So, this is how this build looks. And yes, I did put primed redirect on Rhino. I know, this is not the optimal way to build Rhino. The thing is, if you're building Rhino for overguard, then you're technically already building it wrong anyways, if we want to talk that way, because the Rhino you can push to level cap using Iron Skin, but you're only using Iron Skin essentially for the invulnerability window, because any amount of overguard, unless it's up in the millions, is going to get chewed through instantly. And even if you have millions of overguard on Rhino, which is possible, but a serious pain in the ass to do, it's still not going to last very long at level cap. So if you're talking about the most optimal way to play and build Rhino, anything that's actually enhancing your overguard is already going the wrong way. This is the cozy way to play Rhino. I know this is a kind of goofy thing to do, but when you see how much armor you can get by enhancing your armor through parasitic armor and ironclad charge, I think you'll understand. So, of course, it also means we have to put the ironclad charge augment on here. This gives you a percentage increase to your armor based on the number of enemies that you hit. It's only for a single use of it. If you cast it again, it won't add on further from there. So you have to kind of make sure you have a decent little group of enemies so you can hit them all with a single use of Rhino Charge. Not a big deal, and since we have such a high percentage boost from that, plus parasitic armor, you don't have to hit very many enemies to get a lot of overguard. Everything else is basically just dumping power strength. So Blind Rage, Augur Secrets, Power Drift, Transient Fortitude, Umbral Intensify. Worth noting, you don't need to have the Umbral polarity on here like I do. You can put polarities in other places. You can get away with adding one additional polarity on either the Exilis or over Ironclad Charge, and then using Steel Charge in the Exilis slot to give you enough mod capacity to get away with doing this without the Umbral Forma. I did this because I was actually trying to use this setup with Umbral Fiber as well as Umbral Intensify at the same time. And believe it or not, it's actually not any better. So you don't need to do it this way. This ended up being, admittedly, a little bit of a waste of an Umbral Forma, but I wanted to try it, and Rhino is actually still technically my most used Warframe, according to the game stats, so I'm not really all upset by that. Of course, we got Molt Augmented for even more power strength, and Arcane Arachne is just a personal choice. I find myself liking this the more that I use it. I know not everybody's going to have this. If you want to go with just an even more cozy option, you can throw on Arcane Energize. If you want to focus on a specific weapon, obviously there are arcanes that will focus on buffing specific weapons for primaries, secondaries, or melees. Arachne is just a general all-around damage buff for all of your weapons, which pairs nicely with Roar. So you can just use whatever the hell you want and buff the damage massively. The aura really doesn't matter all that much. Growing power is just more power strength, which is very nice to have, but at some point, the more power strength you add on, it just kind of starts getting to goofy numbers for everything that you have, but that's okay. That's what we want. We want high damage from Roar, and we want high overguard from Iron Skin. Now, the only shard in here that I would say I think is necessary is this first Amber Shard for max energy on spawn, and that's just because we're running negative efficiency with Blind Rage. You want to have at the start at least enough energy to activate Parasitic Armor and then activate Iron Skin. This gives you just enough to do that, so you don't even need to have a Tau Forged to make this happen. So you can at least start the mission by having about 60,000 Overguard by casting your 4 and then casting your 2, and then you can go kill some enemies, get some more energy to activate Roar, and then get even more energy so that by the time your Overguard does run out, which will take at least a little bit of time if you're just doing normal Warframe missions in Steel Path, you'll have enough energy to use Rhino Charge, use Parasitic Armor, and then activate Roar again, and you're going to get some silly numbers. I have casting speed in here. This is mostly for Parasitic Armor, which has a annoyingly slow casting speed. Otherwise, Roar is a decently fast enough cast, and then Iron Skin and Rhino Charge are quick casts as well. This isn't necessary, but it does feel nice. We have a purple shard in here for equilibrium since we have nothing else benefiting energy economy on Rhino. So I don't know if this is a necessary thing to have, but it feels nice. So worth putting that out there. And then, of course, the other 2 slots just filling with more ability strength because ability strength is good for everything on Rhino, as we already talked about. And since we're using a big old damage buff with the full power version of Roar, you can kind of just use whatever you want. And I didn't want to use lower tier weapons this time around. I decided I just wanted to grab things that aren't the usual choices. I know that except for the Epitaph, but I want to show some funny numbers too. Bratton Incarnate is definitely a very good weapon, and you know what? Hate me all you want, but I think the Galatine is better than the Graham, so not like it matters that much. We're already playing Warframe the wrong way anyway, so who cares? We're going to go kill some dudes, and it's going to be super duper easy.
Scans show Grenier are harvesting Kuba nearby. Set off the alarms to draw them out.
So activate your 4, that gives you a giant armor buff of 5,500. Activate Iron Skin, it's going to take into account that armor buff, and that gives us 56,000 Overguard to start with. That's more than enough to keep you alive at the start of a mission. Even on Steel Path, you'll see these guys are going to get chewed up pretty easily. This is going to give us some time to get the energy that we need to be able to cast Roar, and then get more energy to do all of our other abilities as well. Of course, once you have Roar active and you got your armor ready to go, I mean, you're sitting pretty. As you can see, just with how long it's taking these guys to chew through about 56,000 Overguard, it's really not necessary to have the Ironclad Charge Augment. If you want to just use those 2 abilities back and forth, you could definitely do that. But just you wait until you see how much Overguard you're able to get when you use all 3 of those in tandem. Yeah, I know, I'm a bad shot. Shut up. Alright, I'm going to intentionally let these guys hit me so I can lose this. Activate. Oh boy. Okay. Had just enough. Had just enough to get away with that. Alright, 750,000 Overguard. So, Like I said before, I know that there are setups that you can use with Rhino to get millions of overguard, but it involves a bunch of unnecessary things that you pretty much never use, such as arcane tanker for enhancing your armor even more. I just don't feel like doing that. It's just a bunch of extra steps that will get you high amounts of overguard, but the thing is, if you really think that these guys are going to chew through 750,000 overguard anytime soon, you might just be playing AFK. I don't know what else to tell you. This is why I have this whole setup going this way. If you didn't want to use ironclad shards and you think you want to just use parasitic armor, then you could actually put that over your one, and then you could keep Rhino Stomp on your ability list. So I don't really want to do that, both because I like the cozy overguard, and also since we're running negative efficiency, Rhino Stomp is going to cost 155 energy, which is quite a bit if you're going to be trying to use it constantly for crowd control, so no, not really recommended. Now, let's get Arcane Arachne active and get even more damage out there. Completely, absolutely unnecessary, but it's funny. It's 30 seconds, it's super easy to activate, that's why I wanted to throw it on here, and it's not weapon specific. I can just, whatever weapons I want to use, if I feel like using melee, just go grab a wall real quick. The only annoying thing about Arcane Arachne is you can't refresh it. You have to wait for it to go away and then wall latch again. Not that that's that big of a deal, but you do need to pay attention to your buff timers. Now it's gone. Wall latch. Damage up again. Roar. Oh yeah. Zero armor shipping, using a viral heat, Bratton and Karnan, and you would think that it's a Burston Prime in Karnan. I mean, this thing is just tearing them up, no problem. Speaking of silly damage numbers, come on, Evan, come on. If I could shoot straight, that'd be nice. I know I suck, it's alright. That's why I use grenade launchers. I can just kind of fuck around and do whatever I want because I have so much overguard. I don't have to worry about these guys. Beautiful stuff. Hell, we can do enough damage. We can just use the standard shot on the epitaph to just blast people away. Who needs accuracy when you can just have a little wrist-mounted grenade launcher? Come here, buddy. There we go. I mean, really, the only danger you're going to have playing Rhino with a high amount of overguard is if you're dealing with Corpus and you accidentally walk into a nullifier. Or if you end up getting your abilities deactivated by an Acolyte, which is really annoying, but otherwise, I mean, you're doing something like this, you're just laughing at all your enemies. Like, what are they gonna do?
Extraction is available if you need it.
Yeah, even if you don't get Rhino Prime, you can definitely still make this work with normal Rhino. It's like I was talking about, since normal Rhino has 50 less base armor than Rhino Prime, you are technically going to be having less overguard, but the thing is, it's not that big of a deal. Like, we're getting such massive number increases from Ironclad Charge, and also the fact that parasitic armor does not work off of your base armor. You don't really need to worry about the lower base armor on normal Rhino all that much. It's just worth pointing out, I think. If you really want to go full investment on Rhino, then Rhino Prime is going to be better for Iron Skin. So all that time that we were out there, and once we had that 750,000 overguard active with Iron Skin, they only chewed through about 150,000 of it. 140,000 maybe.
And so we learn the importance.
Completely unnecessary, very silly, but super cozy. It makes it very easy to play Rhino and just kind of do whatever the hell you want. You can be someone like me with piss poor aim trying to go for headshots with an epitaph, and you're not going to get punished for missing. You're just going to be able to stand there and laugh at your enemies while you calmly and carefully line up each one of your shots because you got jittery fingers. So there you go. Hopefully this is a little bit of a different Rhino build than what you've seen before. It's not really an optimal way to play, but who cares? If it's fun, if it's cozy, if it makes doing high-level missions easy so you can just breeze through doing Netracells or Archon hunts or whatever you want to get through quickly at high-level stuff, then hey, there's nothing wrong with that. Play Warframe the way you want to play it. You can build things the wrong way, and as long as you're having fun and you're not screwing over your teammates on the mission by dropping objectives or failing the mission, who cares? Play the game how you want and have fun.